This conference will now be recorded.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Effective Copywriting, your month 4 course. This class, as you can tell, is going to be about copywriting, and we're going to do some academic writing because it's a graduate program. A little bit about me. My name is Elena Rogal. I am the art director who writes. If you were going to do a personal brand statement, that would be mine. I spent many, many years as a graphic designer and an art director and a creative services manager in television. I worked for PBS for 14 years and another station. I worked in ad agencies. I freelance. So I have a background in graphic design, but then when I was at the PBS affiliate, I got the opportunity to go back to school. So I did a second bachelor's degree in English and then did my master's in English literature, then did a MFA in creative writing here at Full Sail University. So I know exactly what you guys are going through with the pace and how do I keep up with everything. So a piece of advice that I'm going to give you now, and I'll post something in the community discussion board about this later, but time management will be your best friend. I used to open up the platform every Monday morning and have like a little nervous breakdown. And I'd allow myself to panic for about 6 minutes. Then I'd pull myself together and I'd make my to-do list and I stuck to it. And as a result, I was never missed an assignment. So when you're juggling a full-time job and graduate school and a family and everything, time management will keep you from losing your mind over the next 9 months. Okay. Currently, I am a student as well. I'm working on my PhD in text and technology, and I'm actually in my last class of my coursework. So I know exactly what you guys are going through because I've got so much stuff on my to-do list every week, but it's worth it. So hang in there. I am here to help you along this journey. I know for a lot of you, the word writing is really scary, but I'm going to make it less scary because I believe everybody can write. They just need to, get some tips on how to believe in themselves and have confidence in their writing. Okay, so let's talk about what's going on this month. Well, we're going to be starting doing testimonial ads next week. They're going to be magazine print ads, and they're going to be for the nonprofit organization that you're going to choose in the week 1 discussion board. I'll go over that in a minute. But I just want to give an overview of what a testimonial ad is. So our textbook for this month is called Advertising Concept and Copy. It is an ebook that you get a code from Full Sail and you download it into your Vital Source bookshelf. If you did not get the code, call FSO support immediately. You will need this textbook all month long because it is a secondary source for every piece of work that you're doing. So you must have it. You also are going to use it later on in the program. So make sure you download George Felton's Advertising Concept and Copy. So according to George Felton, who wrote our textbook, a testimonial ad is where someone speaks for your product or speaks for your service, or in this case, speaks for your nonprofit organization. So when you're deciding on how to do a testimonial ad, you're basically choosing someone as your spokesperson. That person's going to testify for your product or your service or your nonprofit. So the person you choose should have a clear tie to your nonprofit organization or the product. For example, you're not going to choose like that football player that abused pit bulls to represent your animal charity because that just wouldn't work. So when you decide on who's going to represent your product or service, you have to decide on what type of approach you're going to do. How are you going to anchor that testimonial so you can have it be based in humor? You can use a serious approach. There's many approaches you can take with this. And all these testimonial ads are explained in the textbook. So that's why it's really important to understand what's going on with testimonials and making sure you have your textbook. So let's talk about 4 different types. In the textbook, Felton talks about 9 different types, and you're going to get into that more next week. But I'm just going to give you a little bit of a heads up. So there's extreme users or frequent users. These are people who use the product all the time. They're a great spokesperson because they believe enough in the product or the nonprofit organization that they're going to give a donation every year to that same organization. So they would be a great spokesperson. An expert could be like someone associated with the nonprofit organization, like a veterinarian, or if you're trying to sell chef's knives, Emeril Lagasse or Tom Colicchio would be a great spokesperson, not Carrot Top, the comedian, because he probably just juggles knives, doesn't use them to cook. So an expert would be someone who's got expertise in the field. Company bigwigs could be the president of a company, the president of the nonprofit, the chairman of the board of trustees, someone who's dedicated their life to the product or the nonprofit organization. And celebrities. We've all looked at ads from celebrities who are pitching one thing or another. Here's an example of Paul McCartney, and this is a testimonial ad. He's saying, I am Paul McCartney and I am a vegetarian. So you're hearing his voice come through not only in the headline, but in the body copy that's above his shoulder there. So he talks about why he became a vegetarian and why it's important, and that's why he supports PETA, and he wants you to support PETA too. Another example of a testimonial ad is this one for Bright Focus Foundation. Bright Focus is an organization, it's a nonprofit that helps caregivers of people with Alzheimer's. So this is actually a student ad, and I think this one's really good. It says, I used to be his little girl, and now I'm the stranger who brings him coffee. So that headline and that subhead really work well to grab your attention. So you want to read the body copy, because how did she, start out as a little girl and now she's a stranger? So when you read the body copy down here, it talks about how her dad was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and he's losing a little bit more each day, but through Bright Focus Foundation she was given the skills to deal with this. So she's basically testifying as to how Bright Focus Foundation helped her. And I talked a little bit about, that last one was serious. This one's kind of humorous. This is Einstein the dog, and you're hearing his point of view through his copy, where it says, sure, at first I was a little taken aback by the whole peeing standing up thing, but I taught him how to throw a stick, and now I hang out with him every day, and it's the best part of my day. So Einstein was adopted through the Shelter Pet Project, and you're hearing the testimonial through his point of view or his voice and tone. So you can give human qualities to animals or inanimate objects through something called personification. So another example of personification is this ad with the shoe. This shoe is saying, hey, I found a new home. And the body copy goes on to sell you on how to support Human Rights Watch. So there's this new boutique, and all the things that are donated to Human Rights Watch boutique go up for sale, and all the proceeds from the sale of these gently used items goes to support the campaigns that Human Rights Watch does. So that's kind of a taste of what you're going to be working on this month, are these testimonial ads for the nonprofit organization that you choose. So let's talk a little bit about headlines. I pointed out a couple where I found a new home, where the shoe's talking, and I used to be his little girl, now I'm the stranger who brings him coffee. These are examples of headlines, and headlines are something that are that key element in print advertising that grabs the reader's attention and pulls them into the ad, because if you don't pull your reader into the ad, they're not going to continue on and read the body copy where we sell the actual organization or the product. So the headline's going to grab them and work kind of with the visual to grab that attention. So you want to think about headlines, maybe, if you're doing for a new product, you could say it's a new product, or if it's an improved product, you can use the headline to, announce to the world that it's new and improved. It could be solving a problem. It could be looking at a benefit, not a feature. Remember, every product and service out there has features, but it's the benefits that separate them from the pack. So focus in on the benefits, something that differentiates them from the crowd. And you can write a headline along that. You can also arouse curiosity with a headline. So there's a couple of different types of headlines. First, there's a direct action headline. This is like a command. They're telling you exactly what to do. It's straightforward. It's to the point. It's basically commanding you to pay attention, because this is what they want you to do. Indirect action headlines, on the other hand, are not as straightforward. So you might not know what the ad's about when you first read it. So these can be more intriguing to your audience. Maybe they ask a question or present a puzzle, or it makes them think in some way. So an example of this is from my swipe file. I found this ad and I thought, I am not a pet. I'm like, what are you talking about? You're a cat. Of course you're a pet. So the headline was so intriguing that I had to go in and read the body copy. And it turns out that this cat is not a pet because he's fed Imes cat food. And as a result of being fed this wonderful cat food, he's a member of the family, not just a pet. So that's a way a headline can pull you in. So body copy. That's the piece of the ad. In the cat ad, it's this copy down here that actually sells the product, sells the nonprofit, or sells the service. So with body copy, you want to be able to sell something. So that's where you're going to do it. So David Ogilvy is the godfather of advertising, and he wrote this book back in the 50s called On Advertising. And he has these 7 tips for writing body copy that sells. He says, first, go big or go home. Your body copy must create a compelling argument because that's what's going to intrigue your readers. So you need to do your homework. So you can't write good copy unless you know who you're writing it for. So understanding your target audience is key. You can't generically speak to everyone. You have to focus in on a specific target audience and write copy that speaks to them in the voice and tone that they will respond to. So it helps to know how that person thinks and what that person needs. So you need to understand your target audience. That's hugely important. In week 2, we're going to do some work on personas where we're going to do just that, get to know them. So once you know them, the last thing you want to do is talk down to them. You know, people are very sophisticated now. We're getting pummeled with images and ads on a daily basis, like thousands of times a day. So we know we're being advertised to, so make sure your copy doesn't talk down to people. This isn't the 1950s, and you're not going to suddenly convince me that this magical appliance is going to make my life so easy. You have to understand who your target audience is so that you're writing that compelling argument that they will respond to. So if the headline is 80%, it's the thing that's going to grab their attention and pulls them in, you must make sure that headline really works, that it pulls the audience in, that the body copy that supports that headline is going to make the case to why they spent that time reading that headline. So don't get distracted from making the sale in your ads. When you write body copy, you've pulled them in with your headline, and now is the time for you to say, hey, my nonprofit needs your help. Please make a donation today. So if your point isn't immediately obvious, if you're overwriting your body copy, or it's so vague that people don't know what the organization is or what they do, then they won't get it, and they won't make a sale. You won't sell your product. You won't get a donation. They won't come to your event. So don't get distracted from making the sale. So you want to explain some things in the copy. For a nonprofit organization, the key to what a nonprofit organization does specifically is in their mission statement. You can get their mission statement online at their website. That is the heart of who they are and what they do. So your body copy for your testimonial ads should sell the organization. This is what we do, this is why it's important, and this is why we need your help. So body copy might be short, but it's important. The key to good copywriting is being concise, saying the most amount of information with the least amount of words. You don't want to underwrite your copy where it's so vague that people don't know what it's about, but you also don't want to write a ton of copy that people are going to get bored and just flip the page. So I thought this was a really cool example. This is going to tie into the headlines project and to help you understand body copy. I'll talk specifically about the assignments in a minute. Okay, this is an ad for the Volkswagen bus, the old Volkswagen bus that used to have the flat front that we had here in the 60s and the 70s. Well, in Brazil, they were still making them up to a couple of years ago, but because you can't put an airbag in it, they went out of production because they're not safe. But Volkswagen realizes that there's something they can do for their audience, that they can create this space, this interactive space where people can share their stories of their favorite times in their Volkswagen bus. So they said the headline to the ad is Unintroducing the Volkswagen Bus, soon at no dealerships near you. So that's intriguing because they're not announcing a product, they're unannouncing a product. So if they're not selling the product, then what is this ad about? So it's intriguing. The word choice of unintroducing the Volkswagen bus and how it's not going to be at any dealerships near me is very intriguing. It grabbed my attention because of the specific word choice. So I read the body copy, and it talks here about this website that they're creating where people can share their stories and connect with other Volkswagen owners. Here's another example. This one's another Volkswagen ad, believe it or not, that doesn't have a picture of a Volkswagen in it. The story of this pencil is definitely worth writing about, is yours. So this has longer body copy, but because it's a Volkswagen ad, people might be intrigued to read about it. So what does this story have to do? How do I write my story? So when you read through this ad, it talks about being a number 2 pencil, but it actually came from a bunch of different places. And it talks about how this pencil went on this journey, and it went to Yosemite, and it went all around the world, and it did all this stuff. It went to Mardi Gras. So where have you been lately? It's time to get out there, the Volkswagen SUV range. So it is selling the Volkswagen SUVs, but it's doing that through a personal narrative where it wants you to get involved with the product on a one-to-one basis. I thought that was intriguing. Okay, so what does all this have to do with what we're doing this month? Okay, so the course at a glance kind of lays everything out. The first thing you'll notice is that the course at a glance says the research paper is due Friday, but I moved that to Sunday because you guys just came out of a busy month and you barely get a chance to breathe. So I want to give you a couple of extra days to do some really good writing. So this month we're going to be writing 2 different papers, so you need to pay attention to that. We're doing one in week 1 that's just a simple 750-word essay, so it's not that strenuous, but it does get you involved in what the course is about by giving you some things to think about and write about. The second thing we're doing this week is headlines that inspire. I'll go over that and the discussion board in just a moment. But to see how this all ties together, in week 2 you're going to actually start creating your testimonial ads for your nonprofit organization. Then in week 2 we're going to do revisions. But before we do the ads, we're going to do target audience profiles, and those are really great because you really get to understand who your target audience is through this project that we do. In week 3, the campaign research paper opens, but it's not due till week 4, so you've got 2 weeks to work on this, and you're really just writing about the campaign that you're creating for your nonprofit organization. We're going to do a tagline writing workshop in week 3 in the discussion board, and then we're going to wrap everything up after we turn in our papers in week 4 with a Mastery Journal post. But let's focus in on week 1. So the first thing we're doing is the discussion board. It has a Wednesday deadline, so you have to get your initial post done by Wednesday. So let's go look at that. So if you haven't already, I saw this morning that some people had, you must go to this Google Doc that's here. Click on this link. The link will take you to the list of nonprofit organizations. You're going to choose one to be your client of the month, basically. So everything we do this month is based on this nonprofit organization that you choose. Now, I told you earlier that I worked for PBS for 14 years. I also donate my graphic design, copywriting, and social media stuff. All that expertise I have, I still donate it to nonprofit organizations. Through my little freelance company, I donate my services because a lot of nonprofit organizations don't have the money to pay an ad agency to do their stuff. So I give back by doing that. In a long time ago, last century probably, I did a campaign for the Nature Conservancy, and all I did was design some brochures that went out to registered voters in one county in Florida, and it was a huge success. We asked them to raise their property taxes $15, and as a result, there's land in Brevard County that was bought 25 years ago that is still undeveloped, and it is protected through the brochures that I designed for free. They were so impressed with what happened in Brevard County, they ended up asking me to do a couple more counties, and we ended up raising $500 million. So what you're learning in this month, you can actually use to help a charity in your own neighborhood. But this month, you're going to choose one off the list, and then what we're going to do is we're going to look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs through Settle and Alrich's 15 catalog of needs. So these are listed here, but they're also in your textbook. So if you want to read more about it, go to pages 24 through 26 in the textbook. But what happens is every piece of advertising out there speaks to more than one of these needs at a time. You can examine any piece of advertising out there and stick them in at least two of these categories every single time. So that's basically what you're doing. You're going to go out into the internet or into magazines that are sitting on your coffee table, and you're going to find two print ads that represent your nonprofit organization's competition. So two ads, one from, one organization that's the competition, one from another that could be its competition. So for example, if you're doing an animal charity, go find some print ads that are for other animal charities and see what they're doing. You're going to take these ads and you're going to embed them into the discussion board, and then you're going to put each ad into more than one category from this list of 15. Each ad fits into more than one, so you must do that. You must also develop a rationale that explains how they fit into more than one category. So you're not just saying this fits into exhibition, and you're not just saying this fits into exhibition because it's the need to gain public attention. Describe exactly how that ad is getting the public's attention. What is it about the ad that is touching on that exhibition need inside of us? Okay, so how do you find ads on the internet? I'm going to do a really quick tutorial here. It's not that hard. You're going to go into Google and you're going to Google, let's do an animal charity, animal nonprofit print ad images. Let's see what comes up. A ton of ads come up. So here you can see a bunch of ads that could be competition, like World Wildlife Fund, or earlier I showed an ad from the little nonprofit organization that was a specific animal charity with Einstein the dog, the pet project. So choose a couple of ads that represent the competition of your nonprofit, download them. These will come down as JPEGs or PNGs, and embed them in the discussion board. So what happens if you're working on a nonprofit that is a little harder to search, like the environmental charities might be a little tough, or this is what I want you to keep in mind about nonprofit organizations. They're in competition with every other nonprofit organization out there. So if you struggle with finding print ad images, if you take out the animal here, get my mouse to work and just do print ad images, you can see a ton of different types of print ad images come up. Okay, make sure they are print ads. A print ad is going to have a headline, body copy, and a call to action. It is not a web graphic. I don't want to see any web graphics. A web graphic is just going to have like a headline on it. You don't use web graphics for this project. So once you have your two ads in the discussion board and you've placed each ad into more than one of these categories, you're then going to come back by Sunday and place your competition, your classmates' competition, into categories they did not mention. You're going to examine your classmates' competition and explain how those ads fit into one of the 15 needs that they did not mention. Rationales are hugely important. If you did not remember this from last month, I'm going to remind you. Every time you make a decision, you're basing that argument in research. So I tell you what these all are about here in the discussion board, and I told you that they're more explained deeper in pages 24 through 26. So when you're writing your rationale, what demonstrates a strong graduate student is someone who supports their argument with research. So use the Felton book to back up the claims you are making about each of these categories. Use Felton's words to define each category. So get in the habit of always using research to back up your claims. Okay? All right, let's go back. Okay, so that's the discussion board. Now let's talk about the paper. Okay, so the discussion board has deadlines of Wednesday and Sunday. In the research paper that we're writing, it's a persuasive essay. It is 750 to 1,000 words, not including the title page or the references, and it's focusing in on these 3 bullet points. The resources we're asking you to read are Advertising Concept and Copy, Chapter 9. This article, What is Copywriting and How is it Important for a Designer, by Daniel Adams. And we're also writing from 10 Strategies to Help Designers Conquer a Fear of Writing, by Tim Lapatino. These are the 3 resources that we're asking you to use as you answer these questions. You must quote at least 4 direct quotes from these research items, plus 1 from the Full Sail library. And focus in, this is a really good tip. Look at these questions, these 3 bullet points, and what we're asking you to write about. Then do the reading with these questions in mind, so you read with intention. You understand what's being asked of you, so as you're reading, you can make notations. Oh, this is a really good quote that would explain ways in which copywriting can establish a brand's voice. Most probably going to come out of the Chapter 9 in Felton, Establishing Voice. So read with intention. So this paper is due Sunday. It must be an APA style. In Microsoft Word, there is an APA style template. You just have to edit it a little bit and take out the table of contents and all the footnote stuff at the end and just have the title page. You do not need an abstract because this is a short essay. So title page, the body of the paper, and your reference page. Okay, 750 words to 1,000 words, talking about these 3 questions and using these resources plus 1 from the library. You're going to be writing every single month in academic tone, so let's work on it. You've got an English major here helping you out, so let's figure out how we can overcome any fears of writing we have. So I just gave you a tip on how to, write with intention by reading with intention. Okay, so that's due Sunday. The last thing that's you're working on this month, and this you can be working on simultaneously with your discussion board, is the Headlines That Inspire project. You're going to look at headlines and write strong rationales as to why you think these headlines work. So you're going to collect examples of good copywriting. When I went through the slides before, I showed you examples of ads. Those are all from my swipe file. And a swipe file is basically just a container that keeps examples of good advertising. I have ads that are designed well that I like. They might have typography that I think is intriguing. They might have a really cool image or a texture. They have strong headlines. They have really good body copy. Maybe one or the other or all of the above, but that's what ends up in my swipe file. I have a physical swipe file, but I also have an electronic swipe file, and I house it in Pinterest, and it's really easy to go in and just click things into my Pinterest page. So I have a giant electronic swipe file on a Pinterest page. You're not handing in your swipe file, but this is a great resource. There are days where you're not going to be able to write your way or design your way out of a paper bag. I've experienced this many times. So I go back to my swipe file and I look for inspiration, and next thing you know, I have ideas and I can, do the job that I need to do. So your swipe file can be important. But for this task, what you're going to do is you're going to read this article down here, Headline Writing Basics, and you're going to use it to support the claims you make. So what you're going to do is, after you read that Headline Writing Basics PDF, you're going to go out and find 5 headlines from ads, not articles. This is an advertising copywriting class, not a journalism class. So you're not pulling headlines from news articles. They must be ads. Talk about why the headlines are so intriguing. What was it about the word choice that the copywriter used? What was it about the messaging that really touched you? So talk about the rationale behind how that headline was written by using the Headline Writing Basics to back up the claims you are making as to why those 5 headlines work. So you're choosing 5 ads with 5 strong headlines and writing a rationale for each of the 5 headlines using the Headline Writing Basics, or you can use, and you can use the Felton book. He's got a whole chapter on headline writing. Okay, so that's what's going on this week with the Settle and Alric 15 Catalog of Needs discussion board. You're choosing your client, you're researching your competition, you're putting your initial post up by Wednesday, and your 3 reply posts 3. You're going to choose 3 of your classmates and look at their ads and put both of their ads into categories from Settle and Alric that they did not mention. On Sunday, your 750 to 1,000 word persuasive essay on voice and tone is due. Follow the writing prompts on the assignment. I can't stress that enough. And it's an APA paper. It's not due Friday, it's due Sunday. So let's change that right now. Sunday. Okay. Then your Headlines That Inspires project is due Sunday. So five strong headlines. You can put them into the Word doc as the you can put the ads themselves into the Word document, but you must at least include the headline. So if you don't put the little photograph of the image in the Microsoft Word document, you must type out the headline so I understand what you're writing about. So you're going to write a 2 to 3 sentence rationale, supporting that rationale with evidence from the article that I attached to the assignment. You're not writing about typography. You're not writing about the images. You're not writing about the layout. You're only writing about the words. So focus in on the words. You lose points if you mention anything about a font or the picture or the red color. Don't mention anything except the words themselves. And if that's not enough for you, the Week 2 Mastery Learning Project is open as of today, and it's due at the end of Week 2. So if you want to get started on the tutorials and understanding what's being asked of you with your testimonial ads, that's open, so you can get started and get a little head start on that as well. Okay, any questions? Let's see, who's here? I talk a lot. Okay, Joe, Holly, any questions? Let me unmute you. I lost my voice. Okay, if you have no questions and you're here or you're watching this later on the archive and you start working on the assignments, you hit a roadblock or you don't understand something, the first thing you need to do is reach out to me. Don't try to fake it till you make it. I am here to help you be successful this month. I am your course director who really believes in you. So I want you to come to me with any concerns you have, any issues that you're struggling with. Maybe it's finding research for the paper. Maybe you're not understanding how to write a rationale. Just shoot me an email through FSO, through the platform, in the messages. Call me on the phone during office hours. Talk to me. I'm here to help. That's what I think. Good. So I'm here to help you guys. So don't be afraid to ask a question. I am the biggest question asker. If I don't understand something, I'm the first one to raise my hand. I don't care what anybody thinks. I want the right answer. So I'm going to ask the question to get to that right answer. So I really believe in that. Okay. If something comes up and something happens and the late policy is on FSO, it's part of your week 1 thing. You got to look through everything under the foundational things. Let's go look at that real quick while we're here. Content. Foundational courses. So everything's here with your syllabus. The late policy is important that you understand this, that I can't give extensions on discussion board assignments ever. These affect your classmates, so there are no extensions. But if you are going to be late with something besides the discussion board, please let me know before it is late so that I can give you the extension and the FSO platform doesn't mark you with a 0 and lock you out. Okay, so I'm telling you again, time management is going to be your best friend. Be organized and understand what you need to do each week, because everything you do in the first week is going to help you with what's going on in week 2, in week 3, then in week 4, because this course kind of builds on itself. So it's really important that you stay current with the assignments and get everything done. And I will post tomorrow some information about the time management techniques that I use and give you some resources for that. Okay? All right. If there's no questions here, I will turn off the recording and let you guys go. But like I said, if you're struggling with something as you're working through the assignments, please reach out to me and let me help.